Imagine looking at your salary today, not as a prison, but as a seed. A small seed perhaps, limited perhaps, but still a seed. Because the truth is that many people spend their entire lives believing that you can only get rich by earning a lot, starting a big company, or receiving a rare opportunity. But in 2026, the reality is different. Those who learn to use their own salary intelligently can start building wealth even without earning a fortune. In this video, I will show you 4 simple but powerful points, inspired by the principles of Robert Kiyosaki, for you to start transforming your salary into a tool for growth. First, you will understand why you need to change your mindset. Stop thinking only as a consumer and start thinking as an investor, because every dollar that reaches the hands of a consumer looks for a way out, but every dollar that reaches the hands of an investor receives a mission. Second, you will learn to master your cash flow, meaning knowing exactly where your money is going, because there is no point in earning more if the money disappears into small expenses, forgotten subscriptions, impulse purchases, and choices made without planning. Third, you will discover the importance of creating assets that generate income. Assets are things that put money in your pocket. And while many people use their salary only to buy liabilities, which take money out every month, those who think like investors set aside a portion of what they earn to build sources of income. And fourth, you will understand how to master the art of investment, investing regularly, diversifying, thinking long-term, controlling emotions, and never putting your money into something you do not understand. These 4 points may seem simple, but together they completely change the direction of your financial life. Because getting rich on a salary does not happen by luck. It happens when you change your thinking, control your money, buy or build assets, and invest intelligently. Perhaps today you receive your paycheck, pay the bills, buy a few things, take care of household issues, help a family member, put something on the credit card, and before you know it, the month is not even over, but the money is already gone. And the worst part is that this repeats itself, month after month, year after year. The person works, puts in effort, wakes up early, faces pressure, exhaustion, traffic, demands, but stays in the same financial place. And then that silent question arises: will things ever change? The answer is they can change, but it does not happen on its own. The change begins when you stop looking at your salary only as money to spend and start looking at it as raw material to build freedom. Because the salary by itself does not make anyone rich. What builds wealth is what you do with it after it enters your account. 2 people can earn exactly the same amount. One ends the year in debt, tired, and with no savings. The other ends the year with money saved, investments growing, and new sources of income starting to emerge. The difference is not only in how much they earn, it is in the way they think, decide, and act with money. And this is where the first point begins. Before talking about investment, before talking about extra income, before talking about any strategy, you need to change your mindset. Because as long as you think like a consumer, every salary will be just passing money. But when you start thinking like an investor, every dollar begins to work toward a greater future. Before moving on, let me ask you one simple thing. If you are truly committed to changing your life, if you want to learn to take better care of your money, use your salary more intelligently, and build a stronger financial future through these videos, then like this video now and subscribe to the channel. Because when you do that, you show yourself that you are not here just out of curiosity. You are here because you want to learn, want to grow, and want to stop repeating the same mistakes that keep so many people stuck in the same place. Now, let us get into the first point, because everything starts here. The first step to building wealth using your own salary in 2026 is to change your mindset. And perhaps you think, but I need more money, not a mindset. Yet that is exactly where many people are mistaken. Because a person can earn little, and start building something. But they can also earn a lot and lose everything if they keep thinking only as a consumer. The problem is not solely in the amount that comes into the account. The problem is in the destination you give that money. Think about it. When the paycheck comes in, what is the first reaction of many people? Buy something they had been wanting. Upgrade a device. Make a purchase in installments. Order food out several times. Walk into a store just to look and walk out with a bag in hand. And I am not saying that a person cannot enjoy life. The problem starts when every income increase turns into a spending increase. The person receives a little more and immediately raises their consumption standard. If they used to buy something simple, now they want something more expensive. If they used to go out once, now they go out 3 times. If they used to have 1 installment, now they take on 2 or 3. And without realizing it, they fall into a dangerous trap. The more they earn, the more they spend. And the more they spend, the more they need to work to sustain the lifestyle they created. That is why Robert Kiyosaki always emphasizes a very strong idea. The rich do not work only for money, they learn to make money work for them. That phrase sounds nice, but in practice it requires a profound change. It means stopping seeing the salary as a reward to spend and starting to see it as a tool to build freedom. The consumer looks at money and thinks, what can I buy right now? The investor looks at the same money and thinks, how can I use this to generate more money in the future? That is the great turning point. When a person thinks like a consumer, any extra money becomes an expense. Received a bonus? Buy something? Received a year-end bonus? Spends it before it even hits the account. Had a little left over at the end of the month, already looking for a way to use it. But when a person starts thinking like an investor, they ask a different question. Can this money buy an asset? Can it pay for a course? Can it go into my savings? Can it be invested? Can it help me depend less on my salary in the future? Notice how everything changes. The same amount that used to disappear into fleeting things now begins to have a mission. A dollar stops being just a dollar. It becomes a small seed. And when you plant many seeds with discipline, something greater eventually begins to grow. But this change does not happen overnight. You need to train your mind. For years, many people were taught only to work, receive, and pay bills. They were taught to seek security in a job, to buy things to show progress, and to believe that investing is only for the wealthy. But in 2026, with so much information available, continuing to think this way can be costly. Today, those who do not learn about money end up being controlled by those who did. That is why the first exercise is simple. Observe how you talk about money. Do you tend to say, I will never be able to? Replace it with, what do I need to learn to get started? Do you tend to say, investing is not for me? Replace it with, what is the first simple investment I can study? Do you tend to say, my salary is too small? Replace it with, how can I better organize what I earn and increase my ability to generate income? The question changes the direction of the mind. When you state that you cannot, your mind stops. When you ask how you can, your mind begins to look for paths. And here another important point comes in, financial education. If you want to build wealth on your own salary, you need to stop studying only how to earn money and start studying how to keep, multiply, and protect money. Because earning is only one part of the game. Many people earn well and live tight. Many people get a raise and stay in debt. Many people have income, but no wealth. Financial education teaches you to see what previously went unnoticed. You start to realize that a purchase in installments is not just a purchase. It is a commitment with your future money. You start to understand that a forgotten subscription is not just a small amount. It is a constant leak. You start to see that showing off an expensive lifestyle may give a momentary sense of progress, but often prevents building a truly free life. And it is not enough to study once. You need to maintain constant contact with ideas that elevate your financial vision. Read about money, watch content that teaches, listen to people who think about growth, write down phrases that make you reflect, ask questions, compare your old habits with the habits of those who build wealth, because the environment also has an influence. If you only surround yourself with people who spend everything, mock those who save, criticize those who invest, and think it is normal to always live on the edge, it is very easy to absorb that behavior. But when you start surrounding yourself with ideas, conversations, and people who talk about growth, business, investments, and discipline, your mind begins to get used to a new reality. You do not need to abandon anyone, but you need to choose more carefully what you feed your mind. Imagine a person who hears every day, money is a problem, all rich people are the same, nobody wins honestly, investing is dangerous, it is better to spend while you are alive. Over time, that person starts to believe that money is something bad, distant, or impossible. So when they have the chance to grow, they sabotage themselves. Now imagine someone who starts to hear, learn before you invest, control your cash flow, buy assets, do not increase spending just because you earned more, use your salary as a tool. That person starts making different decisions, small but different, and it is those small decisions that change everything. From today, do a simple exercise. Grab a piece of paper or open the Notes app on your phone and write down 3 beliefs you have about money. It might be something like, I can never manage to save, money always runs out, investing is complicated, only those born rich get wealthy. Then, next to each sentence, write a new version with an investor's mindset. I can never manage to save becomes, I have not yet learned to organize my money, but I can start with a small amount. Money always runs out becomes, my money needs direction before it is spent. Investing is complicated becomes, I can start by studying the basics without rushing and without putting my money into something I do not understand. Getting rich is for the few becomes, building wealth requires time, discipline, and better decisions. This exercise seems simple, but it begins to break an invisible prison. Because before changing your bank account, you need to change the pattern of thinking that controls your choices. The investor mindset does not ask only how much something costs. It asks how much that will return to me. It does not ask only whether I can afford the installment. It asks whether that installment will bring me closer to or further from freedom. It does not ask only whether I deserve to buy. It asks whether that purchase is aligned with the life I am trying to build. That is the difference between living reactively and living constructively. And when that switch flips inside your mind, you start to see your salary differently. The paycheck that before seemed too small begins to be divided more intelligently. One part for needs, one part for protection, one part for learning, one part for investments, one part to build something that in the future can generate income. It is not about getting rich overnight. It is about stopping going in circles. Because those who think like consumers may even earn well but remain stuck. Those who think like investors, even starting small, begin to create a path. And that path, with consistency, can completely transform your financial life in the coming years. Now we move into the second point, mastering your cash flow. Because after you change your mindset, the next question is simple. Where is your money going? Many people work the whole month, receive their salary, pay some bills, buy a few things, swipe the card here, make a transfer there, order food, fill up the car, buy groceries, put a small purchase in installments, and before they know it, the money has disappeared. It was not one big expense that wiped everything out. It was several small leaks that together took away a large part of the salary. And here is a truth that many people do not want to face. Those who do not control their money are controlled by it. Mastering cash flow means knowing exactly how much comes in, how much goes out, and how much is left. It sounds simple, but few people do it carefully. They think they know how much they spend, but when they put everything on paper, they are shocked. The first step is to write down all expenses, all of them. Rent, electricity, water, internet, groceries, transportation, credit card, subscriptions, delivery, clothes, leisure, small purchases, and even that coffee that seems to make no difference. Because money does not disappear by magic. It follows a path, and you need to discover that path. Then you separate everything by category: what is essential, what is important, what is wasteful, what can be reduced, what can be cut. It is not about living a joyless life without pleasure. It is about stopping spending on autopilot. Sometimes a person does not need to earn more to start investing. They just need to stop wasting what they already earn. A subscription they barely use, restaurants several times a week, impulse purchases, small installments that together snowball. All of this seems like little at first, but it weighs heavily at the end of the month. And here a powerful rule comes in: before you spend, pay your future. When the paycheck comes in, automatically set aside a portion for savings, emergency fund, or investment. Do not wait for what is left over, because there is almost never anything left over. If you wait to save at the end of the month, the money will find some way out before then. But if you set it aside at the beginning, you force your financial life to organize itself around that decision. You can start small, 10%, 5%, or even a simple fixed amount. What matters is building the habit, because the habit is worth more than the initial amount. Imagine someone who receives their salary and decides to set aside a portion before any spending. At first it seems like little, but after a few months, that person already has a small reserve. Then they start studying simple investments. Then they understand their spending better. Then they start to think before buying. And without realizing it, they stop being at the mercy of money and start taking control. Mastering cash flow is this: giving direction to your salary before the world gives it a direction for you. Because if you do not decide where your money goes, advertisements decide, stores decide, sales decide, the credit card decides, impulses decide. But when you take control, every dollar has a function. One part protects your home, one part pays your needs, one part builds your freedom, and another part prepares the ground for the next step, creating assets that generate income. Now, to help you understand how this works in practice, imagine the story of Sophie. Sophie did not earn a huge salary. She worked every day, paid her bills, and like many people, felt that nothing was left over to invest. In her mind, investing was for people who earned much more. So whenever someone talked about saving money, she thought, in my case, it is not possible. My salary barely covers the month. But one day, she decided to do something simple. Look at the numbers for real. She pulled up her bank statement, opened her credit card bill, and started writing everything down. At first, she thought she would not find anything out of the ordinary. But looking carefully, she noticed small leaks. It was not one giant expense. It was several small ones. She was spending quite a bit on restaurants, even with food at home. She was paying for subscriptions she barely used. She was buying things on impulse because the amount seemed small. She was placing delivery orders on tired days. And when she added it all up, she realized that a significant portion of her salary was slipping away without her noticing. So Sophie did not change jobs. She did not receive a raise. She did not earn extra money. She simply adjusted what she already had. She cut back on restaurants to special occasions. She canceled 2 forgotten subscriptions. She started planning her weekly shopping better. She set aside a small amount as soon as her salary came in, before spending on anything else. At first it seemed like little, but that little was a victory, because for the first time she was in charge of her own money. After a few months, Sophie already had a small reserve, and with that security, she started studying simple investments. She understood that she did not need to wait to be rich to invest. She needed to invest in order to start building wealth, and that is the great lesson. Many times, the money to get started is already inside your salary. It is just hidden in wasteful spending, impulses and habits that seem harmless. When Sophie mastered her cash flow, she discovered something powerful. It was not the salary that was entirely wrong. It was the lack of direction. And when the money received direction, it began to work toward a greater goal. Now we move into the third point, creating assets that generate income. And here is one of the greatest lessons inspired by Robert Kiyosaki. The difference between those who remain financially trapped and those who start building wealth lies in knowing how to tell the difference between an asset and a liability. Simply put, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. An asset can be an investment that pays dividends, a small business, a rental property, a digital product, an online channel, a skill that generates extra income, or anything that, over time, is able to produce money for you. A liability, on the other hand, looks nice at first but asks for money every month. It can be a purchase in installments, a car that is too expensive for your reality, objects that lose value quickly, consumer debt, or anything that increases your expenses without bringing a return. And this is where many people go wrong. When they receive their salary, they use almost all of it to buy liabilities. They buy things that bring pleasure for a few days, but then turn into bills, maintenance, installments, and worry. Meanwhile, those who think like investors do it differently. They set aside a portion of their salary to buy or build assets, even if they start small. You do not need to start by buying a property. You do not need to start with a lot of money. What matters is building the habit of turning part of your salary into something that can grow. For example, instead of spending all extra money on consumption, you can use a portion to invest in knowledge, learn a skill, start a simple project, build a small reserve, buy long-term investments, or create something that can generate income in the future. Think of it this way. Every salary you receive can feed two paths. One path leads to immediate consumption. The other leads to the building of freedom. Immediate consumption says, buy now, enjoy now, think later. The building of freedom says, use a portion today to have more options tomorrow. And that is the mindset that changes everything. Because the salary alone depends on your time. You work, you receive, you stop working, you stop receiving. But when you start creating assets, you gradually plant sources of income that do not depend solely on your daily effort. At first, the return may be small, perhaps a few cents, a few dollars, a simple sale, a first earnings. But do not underestimate a small beginning. Every great tree was once an invisible seed beneath the ground. The secret is to repeat the process. Received your salary, set aside a portion to live on, a portion to protect yourself, and a portion to build assets. In the beginning it may seem slow, but with discipline, learning, and time, those assets begin to form a foundation. And when that foundation grows, something powerful happens. You stop depending solely on your salary and start having other sources working alongside you. It is at that moment that your financial life begins to change direction. Now we arrive at the fourth and final point, mastering the art of investment. After you change your mindset, control your cash flow, and start creating assets, the time comes to learn to invest intelligently. Because it is not enough to put money anywhere expecting to get rich quickly. That is a dangerous mistake. Many people lose money not because investing is bad, but because they invest without understanding, without strategy, and without patience. Investing is not gambling. Investing is not following easy promises. Investing is not putting all your money into something just because someone on the internet said it would go up. True investing requires study, calm, and a long-term vision. The person who wants to build wealth on their own salary in 2026 needs to understand one thing. The goal is not to get rich overnight. The goal is to build wealth gradually, month after month, with consistency. It can start small, but it needs to start responsibly. One portion of the salary can go toward an emergency fund. Another portion can go toward simple, well-researched investments. And over time, you learn to diversify. That means not putting all your money in one single place. Because when you diversify, you better protect your future. Robert Kiyosaki teaches a great deal about the importance of acquiring knowledge before putting money on the line. And that is an essential lesson. Never invest in something you do not understand. If you do not know how it works, study first. If it seems too good to be true, be skeptical. If it promises fast money with no effort, be careful. The intelligent investor is not the one who chases excitement. It is the one who makes decisions with clarity. While many people buy when they are excited and sell when they are afraid, the disciplined investor follows a plan. They know the market can go up and down. They know some months will be better and others more difficult. But they do not abandon everything at the first obstacle because they understand that wealth is built over the long term. Imagine Marie. She did not start with a lot of money. In the beginning, she set aside only a small amount every month. First, she built her emergency fund because she wanted to have security before taking risks. Then she started studying simple investments such as ETFs, fixed income, and ways to better diversify her money. At first, the growth seemed slow. She would look at the numbers and think, will this really make a difference? But she kept going. Every month she invested a little. Every month she learned a little more. Every month she avoided an unnecessary purchase to strengthen her future. After a few years, Marie noticed something powerful. Those small amounts had grown into a portfolio far larger than she had imagined. It was not luck. It was not a miracle. It was discipline repeated for long enough. And that is the great truth. Those who start small but keep going reach further than those who wait for the perfect moment and never begin. So if you want to change your financial life in 2026, do not wait to earn more before acting. Start with what you have. Organize your salary, cut wasteful spending, create assets, study investments, protect your money, and above all, be consistent. Because financial change does not happen in one single great moment. It happens in the small choices of every day. It happens when you decide not to spend everything. It happens when you choose to learn instead of complain. It happens when you set aside a portion of your salary before consuming. It happens when you understand that your future is worth more than a passing pleasure. So, if this video spoke to you, if you are truly committed to changing your life and learning through these videos, like it now, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep receiving content that can strengthen your financial mindset. And before you go, write in the comments, "I will start today." Write that as a commitment to yourself. Because when you put that phrase in the comments, you are telling your own mind that you will no longer put your financial life off until later. I will start today. That may be the phrase that marks the beginning of a new phase in your life.